we have a hideous Supreme Court decision that happened a few days ago. It was unanimous, which blows my mind. So NPR reports here, in a unanimous decision, the U.S. Supreme Court threw out the corruption conviction of former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. Now, Chief Justice John Roberts goes on to explain here, there is no doubt that this case is distasteful, talking about what Bob McDonnell did. It may even be worse than that. But our concern is not with tawdry tales of Ferraris, Rolexes, and ball gowns. It is instead with the broader legal implications of the governor's boundless interpretation of the federal bribery statute. Okay, so I need to fill you in some more on this case here. We've spoken about it before, but I should update you. So NPR continues. McDonnell was convicted of taking gifts in excess of $175,000, including a Rolex watch and the catering for his daughter's wedding, in exchange for government favors on behalf of Johnny Williams, a businessman marketing a tobacco-related dietary supplement. Those government favors or official acts were the big issue in this case. The question before the court was whether doing things like setting up meetings, hosting parties, or calling Virginia officials to discuss Williams' business constituted an official act. Okay, so let me break this down and make it as simple as possible for you guys. So you have the governor of Virginia who's got his businessman buddy. His businessman buddy just gives him all the gifts in the world. He's like, okay, here, you can have a Rolex. Okay, here, let me cater your daughter's wedding and not charge you anything. And all you have to do in return is give me these government favors. Now, I mean, that seems to be the most obvious case ever of bribery and corruption. But no. What do the jackasses on the Supreme Court say? Well, I mean, let's get very technical here, guys. See, there needs to be a quid pro quo. And, well, we don't have a quid pro quo here. Okay? So that means that maybe he was giving him the gifts because he likes the guy, and he wasn't expecting anything in return, okay? Yeah. So you'd have to prove that there's a quid pro quo. There's no proof of a quid pro quo, okay? You understand, everybody? You get it? So, in other words, unless you have a businessman and a government official where it's like recorded on video, or you have audio, and they go up to one another, and one of them goes, hello there, Mr. Public Official. I am going to give you $175,000 worth of gifts, or just flat out cash in some cases, and I need you to go ahead and try to pass this piece of legislation for me. It is H.R. 7294. So, if you can please do these favors for me in exchange for this cash I am giving you, I would really appreciate it. According to the Supreme Court, those are the only instances in which you could say, bribery, corruption, see. That is, it's almost like they're trying to be stupid in that decision. It's almost like they're trying to not see plain-face reality. Because as I just described to you, a businessman gives a governor a Rolex, caters his daughter's wedding for free. By the way, there's other stories about how he let him use one of his vacation properties. And so he gives him all these gifts, and in return, let his wife go on shopping sprees. That's another thing that they didn't bring up in this article, but I remember from when we covered it last time. In return, he gets, quote, government favors. And they go, but did you have an actual conversation where one of you says, I will give you the money and then you do these favors in return? And they go, well, no, but we can follow the money and see the actions that happen. They go, that's not enough. That's not enough. I do not believe that's bribery. I do not believe that's corruption because you do not have an exact tale of exactly what they said where one said, I will give you the money and you will do me the favors. Well, then almost nothing is corruption and bribery. So they refuse to connect the dots. They refuse to say, oh, well, this is obvious and we can see based on the actions. So it's like they're trying to be dense. They're trying to be obtuse over this. They're like, I don't want to see the plain-faced reality of it. So, for example, you have ExxonMobil. They donate so much money every year, overwhelmingly to Republican politicians. And Republican politicians all the time, lo and behold, look at that. They try to give a $4 billion subsidy to ExxonMobil annually for research and development. Now, to normal people that have functioning brains, you look at that and you go, oh, so I see what happens. This is basically a form of bribery. This is a form of corruption. Have campaign contributions, which are totally legitimate, go from ExxonMobil, Chevron, BP, whoever, goes to the politicians, and then they understand, oh, well, there's strings attached to this. They're not just giving me the money because they like my stance on abortion. They're giving me the money so that when that bill comes up to give them $4 billion every year for research and development, I vote in favor of it. According to the jackasses on the Supreme Court, no, la, 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 we refuse to see that, la, 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 la. So for everybody on the Supreme Court, when you had Wall Street giving gigantic campaign contributions to Democrats and Republicans, and then when the crash happened, the Democrats and Republicans came together in a bipartisan fashion, and they said, we're going to bail out Wall Street. Not only that, we're not going to have strings attached to it so that the people who specifically made the decisions that crashed the companies and the world economy get bonuses when they failed miserably. They should be fired, never mind getting paid, never mind getting bonuses on top of that. According to the Supreme Court, no, I see nothing wrong here. Nothing fishy there at all. That's not corruption. That's not bribery, because you don't have an exact example of a time and place when they came together and they said, I am going to give you the money and you are going to do the favors for me. By the way, they're not that stupid. Nobody's that stupid. Everything is implied at this point. Everybody gets the way it works. That's why it's legalized bribery at this point. Everything is implied. All the lobbyists, all the campaign contributions, everything is, oh, so that's how it works. You give me the money, I do this favor for you. Rich people overwhelmingly give to politicians. Lo and behold, look at that. They all get to shove their money in the fucking Cayman Islands in Bermuda and not pay their goddamn taxes. Whereas the middle class, if you're poor, if you don't pay your taxes, you end up in jail. Have you ever noticed when you do it, it's tax dodging? It's tax avoidance? When they do it, they're using a tax haven. Oh, that sounds so much lovelier. As Bill Maher says, it's like their money's getting a suntan. No, it's that they've been able to get away with it because they bought the government. And this isn't theoretical, man. Like we've covered, there was a Princeton study that found that there's no correlation between what the people want, according to the polls, so normal American people, and what we end up getting. Whereas with the rich, there's almost a perfect correlation between what they want in terms of policy and what they end up getting. I wonder why that is. It's because they pay the politicians. But according to the Supreme Court, because they don't literally sit down face to face and say, I will give you the money and you will do favor X, Y, and Z for me. They go, I don't see how that's bribery. I don't see how that's corruption, because it's implied and they don't say anything to each other, so we can't prove that it's bribery, even though if you trace the money, it's clear that this is all implicit bribery and corruption. So what's so funny is that all of them have these smug comments about how, like, well, if this constitutes bribery, well, then I guess everything that happens in our government is bribery, and that can't be true. Except, no, that is true. In fact, I just explained it. I just explained how, yeah, everything is basically functioning as an oligarchy. If you have money, you buy favors. This is the way our government has functioned for so long, but they're working backwards from their conclusion. Because, see, they're doing well in the Supreme Court, so they think, well, I guess other people are doing well, right? I guess this is just the way government works. So they view it as a preposterous conclusion that, oh, maybe the entire system is run on legalized bribery, and maybe we live in a functional oligarchy. They're working backwards from the idea that, no, of course we're not. So what do? They smugly say, well, they're not literally saying I will give you money and you will do favors for me, so it can't be bribery. If this is bribery, it's like everything is bribery, right? Right? Yeah, that's right. That's not an argument that, oh, it's not happening. It most certainly is happening. Any person with a functioning brain can look at this and say, there's a problem with a businessman giving a Rolex, shopping sprees to the wife, letting them cater their daughter's wedding, giving them money, favors, all that stuff. They're not doing it for their health. They're not doing it because they like their fucking smile. They want something in return. That they didn't literally say exactly all the specific things they want does not mean it's not bribery or corruption, but according to the Supreme Court, that is what it means. They need to get their heads out of their asses. Remember, back during I think it was the Citizens United case, one of the justices said, not only is money in politics not corruption, they said it's not even the appearance of corruption. So they're saying it's illogical to even think that, hey, maybe this is corruption. They go, no, that's illogical to even think it's corruption. It's not even the appearance of corruption. That's what they said. On that alone, I rest my fucking case. You really think these guys know what the fuck they're talking about? And you really think they're making sense? They're telling you it's not even the appearance of corruption. So I leave it up to you. Do you think it is at the very least the appearance of corruption?